Welcome. We're at the top of Fleet Street, where Fleet Street meets the Strand, right by Temple Bar, and where you've got the Inns of Court as well. But we're not here for any of that today. We're here for this. This is St Dunstan in the West. Name sound familiar? Yes, we've covered St Dunstan in the East before, and that is the church that was hit by the Blitz back in the 1940s and left to nature to reclaim. But no, today we're here at St Dunstan in the West, which I can tell you is open for business. So in this video we're going to have a look at what looks like a neo-Gothic church from the outside, yet when you go inside it's slightly different. No, it's not Doctor Who's TARDIS, but it is completely different inside from what you're going to expect just by looking at it here. And I'd like to say a big thank you to all the people that have recommended, after covering some of the other churches, that we come here as well, and this is a little treasure. So, as we go in and look at the beautiful stained glass window and the architecture inside, the original church, St Dunstan in the West, stood in exactly the same site it is today, spilling out onto what is now the tarmac of Fleet Street. Now, it's not known exactly when the original church was built, but it was thought it was between 988 and 1070 AD. Now, it's not impossible that St Dunstan himself, and I'll tell you more about him, or his priests, decreed that the church was needed here. Now, the church narrowly escaped the Great Fire of London in 1666 because the quick-thinking Dean of Westminster saved the church, and basically he got 40 scholars together from Westminster School in the middle of the night who extinguished the flames with buckets of water. So who was St Dunstan? Well, he was one of the foremost saints of Anglo-Saxon England. He was also one of the most venerated before the cult of St Thomas Becket took hold of the popular imagination. Now, here he was in 909, and he was taught by Irish monks at Glastonbury Abbey in Somerset. Yeah, as in Glastonbury, you know, the concerts every year. Whilst in Glastonbury, he became a formidable scholar. He also learnt metalworking and was later on made the saint of goldsmiths. Now, Dunstan became a companion to King Arthur's stepbrother, Eldred, although he was banished after the king died in 939, and then he lived at Glastonbury as a hermit, before being appointed abbot there in 945. He was then later appointed the Bishop of London before being elected the Archbishop of Canterbury in 960. He was quite famous for making peace with the Danes and promoted monastic living, as well as establishing libraries and Canterbury Cathedral, where he was buried in 988. Now this is St Dunstan's feast day, and that's on the 19th of May, and that is practised at this church. Now, as you can see, we've had a good look round, and you can see it's all hexagonal in shape. You'd never guess it from looking on the outside, but don't worry, we're going to go back outside a little bit later because we've got some more things to show you on the outside features as well. The church itself was rebuilt in 1831 after wear and tear and time took its toll on the church. The architect, John Shaw, died in 1832, leaving his son, who bore the same name, to complete the task. The tower, unfortunately, was badly damaged by German bombers in 1944 and was rebuilt in 1950 through the generosity of a newspaper magnate, Viscount Camrose. And in 1952, St Dunstan in the West became a guild church, dedicating its ministry to the daytime working population around Fleet Street. Now, a lot of the internal fabric of the church predates the rebuilding of the church in the 1830s, and the high altar and reredos are of Flemish woodwork dating from the 17th century. There's also a large number of monuments from the original church. Some of the earliest are the two bronze figures, thought to date from 1530. The organ we're looking at here dates back from 1834. Unfortunately, none of the original church organ dating from 1674 to 1675 remains, because actually the original parts have remained over the years. It's because it's been largely rebuilt. So as well as being an Anglican church, the building at St Dunstan's is also home to the Roman Orthodox Church in London, and also the altar screen which we've shown you, which is there on the left hand side, was brought here from a monastery in Bucharest in 1966. And then I want to show you in a bit more detail the architecture on the outside of the church. And there you go, you can see the sort of the hexagonal wall. And this is a statue of Queen Elizabeth I. So it's worth coming to this church just to see this statue alone, because this, being Queen Elizabeth I, originally stood in Ludgate. Now this statue of Queen Elizabeth I dates from 1586 and is the only one to have known to have been carved during her reign, making it sit there nearly 440 years old. Now you know as well as I do, London history isn't complete without a bit of gore. So here comes this one. So the staple of Victorian penny shockers, the story of Sweeney Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street, who stalks no man's land between the urban myth and historical fact. Now according to some sources, Todd, a barber, tooth puller and surgeon, did actually exist, and in 1785 set up a shop nearby at 186 Fleet Street, and it's claimed that he murdered over 100 of his clients before selling their flesh on to Marjorie Lovett, who owned a pie shop in nearby Bell Yard. Yep, if you were going in there, you'd have to be very careful about what you ordered. The next bit I really want to look at with this church are the clocks. Now you've got the clocks which are on the tower, but you've also got this large black clock which is sticking out here. Now this is a landmark, and in previous centuries, because of its magnificent clock, apparently it dates from 1671 and was the first public clock in London to have a minute hand. Now, I was hoping to see these two giants strike their bells in action at the top of the hour. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. I stuck around a bit longer and it still didn't happen, so obviously still not working. But there are numerous literary references to the clock, including in Tom Brown's School Days, The Vicar of Wakefield, and a poem by William Cowper back from 1782. The church has had a long association with C. Hoare & Co., whose bank has been situated opposite the church since 1690. Now the Hoare family donated the 4 stained glass windows behind the high altar and also the carved canopies of the altarpiece. And as usual, if you look up, just look at the detailing in the stonework here. Fantastic. Then outside the front of the church, like many really old churches, they had a free water fountain for the public. Whilst not working today, you can see where the button was where the water used to come out. So, being an old church, how about the fact that Samuel Pepys used to worship here a number of times, and also Lord Baltimore, who founded the state of Maryland in the USA, was buried here in 1632, as was his son. So what do you think of St Dunstan in the West? Had you heard of it before? Well, do let us know in the comments down below if you have, or if you intend to come and have a look at it. It's phenomenal, and I just didn't realise the amazing history behind it, and especially that statue of Queen Elizabeth I. Now, if you like surprise churches that not many people go to, I've put a link to our visit to Southwark Cathedral, which many people pass when they are going to Borough Market, but never pop into. So if you click on that, I'll see you in there.